The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our online workshop about successful terminology management. I called it From Zero to Hero in Terminology. Hope you like that flashy title. But this is actually exactly where we want to go. Yeah? Not that we consider ourselves as zeros or losers, not at all. But obviously, there is a lot of room for improvement, as we say. Anyway, you are a language professional or a technical writer, and you want to improve if terminology management exists, or improve it, take it to the next level, to a professional level, or which actually is much more likely, you want to implement it first in a decent way, in a professional way. Since a couple of years, we are qualifying and certifying terminology professionals all over the world, so that the implementation is really, let's say, not the problem any longer, at least in the large organizations, but the integration of terminology management is still a huge issue. And what is still a huge issue as well is that you are really struggling with these three things. A lot more barriers and nasty things are crossing your way. That's for sure. But at the end of our workshop, I will tell you why I picked these three annoying obstacles we face each and every day in our work. It is the lack of recognition of our work. Of course, it is also this nasty, inefficient, or non-existing terminology management. We muddle through with spreadsheets, with all kinds of, uh, manual systems, and prone to error and repetition and repetition. And this, of course, also is closely related to the ignorance. If your bosses are ignorant, then really you have a very hard standing and a tough job. But also, colleagues may be very, very unsupportive when they just, it's not because they are mean, of course, yeah, or because they are stupid. Not at all. That's not what I'm saying here. It is because the language issues, the value of our language and terminology work is not recognized, because people do not understand actually what we are doing, what is terminology actually, and why it's important, why there is so much value of what we are doing. So these are the circumstances where really, this poor guy is not happy and all. And this is why we developed for you an online workshop where we tackle exactly these issues with a common goal. And the goal is, what can we do about it? How can we succeed with terminology management in our organizations? And today I picked three little things, because we do not have too much time. We have 45 minutes, and we have so much to discuss. And of course, this is only one online workshop, and there will be a lot of more coming. So don't you worry if we not if we now do not have enough time to tackle everything. The first thing, which from our experience is highly important and encouraging, it motivates when you look at the good and best practices. So what works? I will present you something that really work in our experience and knowledge from 30 years. Termnet is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year on 12th December. We will celebrate our anniversary. We really can look back to worst practice. We learn a lot, of course, about from worst practice, but this is the good news, there is a lot already of good and best practice in terminology management. So this is the first topic. Second, how can we communicate the value of terminology? How can we develop and again communicate the right strategies and policies? Because as we see later on, without a policy, a terminology policy, it is much less likely that you are going to succeed with your work. And last but not least, in a little bit general way, what can we do to go from zero to hero in terminology in our organization? So let us jump right into the first issue, the good praxis. Today I picked for you two examples from automotive industry. Yes, these lovely cars, they are made by those car makers. And I picked three things they did right in the past years. By the way, when you want to use in your presentations or books or ebooks cool and high quality photos like I did here, then please go to unsplash.com. It's a wonderful platform. It's for free, and they have all these high resolution, wonderful, high quality photos, and you can browse their platform. And they are young, more or less young photographers, and it's really highly recommendable. So if you need cool photos for your presentations, go to unsplash.com. Anyway, first thing they did right, they start early with terminology. We all know this graph for years, and still, terminology comes in when it's actually already way too late. When everything is packed, when everything is ready to be delivered, and when all these, the manuals, the website, the catalogs, the brochures, everything is there already, and then translation comes into play. Then, at that stage, at that very, very costly stage, because every waste of time here, wow, but now I found that there is really inconsistent terminology. All these all these translation works revealing a lot of terminology issues. They cost a lot of money because the product or the service cannot be delivered. And then it is really frustrating and very, very late to start with terminology management, because there you have already, I don't know how many languages. These car manufacturers, they end up with up to 40, 50, 50 different languages they have to translate all this material into. So this is the way it usually was, and of course in many cases is already, when you do not start here, when you are not already quite mature in terminology management, then this is actually the usual way, and this costs a lot of nerves and a lot of money, and a lot of anger also. What the car manufacturers, in particular Daimler, I can tell you that in all clarity. It's not that I'm, here disseminating or disclose some secrets. Not at all. One of our colleagues and trainers, Annette Weiland, she made an internship at Daimler, and she wrote even her dissertation about terminology management at Daimler's, and that's why we can, proudly and clearly and openly state what they did. They, switched the stages from here, from that very last and not productive stage, to start with terminology, to the ideal case. This is where we have to start and think about terminology and the management, the professional management of concept terms, definitions, product numbers, etc., specification, technical specification. It's here. It's more or less from the ideation, from the idea, the design of a product or service between this stage and the manufacturing. So here it's ideal to already think about the language, think about the cultural regions, think about localization, of course, globalization, translation, and of course about decent terminology management. And this then saves a lot of anger, a lot of costs, of course, and a lot of wasted time, first of all. So this is the good news from our today's good practice example. Yes, it is doable, and it is done, and it has a lot of advantages. And unfortunately, Annette Weiland's book, the dissertation, it's published. Of course, it is still, I guess, in German only. Hope that it will be published soon, also in English, because the next thing, I would like to point out today stems also from her dissertation, because what she learned about the terminology management and Daimler's, she designed in a more generic way in the terminology process, and it's not a big thing at the first glance, because if there is a need to include a new term, and then these steps, applicant proposes new term in one language, terminology responsible defines the term, then approve the term in this language, clean existing data if applicable, inform applicant. This is not, the most complex process, and even if you end up with many languages, which as a matter of fact is the case in reality, then you do it, with all these languages. It's the same process. Approve it, and then ideally, if not only, in the if you wish, in the source language, if the term is approved, but also in the translations, or if they are in parallel created in these languages, if all this is approved, then you can include this new term or an amended term in the master data. That's her name, Annette Weiland. And she came up with that terminology process after this long study within her internship, after watching what works and what Daimler did, and how these processes are designed. This is the first step, and of course, it's simple on the one hand, and of course it's not easy to really implement. Meaning that, of course, you have to define all the roles. Who can apply, with the applicant, who can propose a new term, or who can propose a correction or deletion of a term, who are the terminology responsible, and this is crucial, of course, as I'm sure as you know. How can I manage and monitor that a term is approved, or an amendment is approved? How many people do I need? Which people, from which departments, etc. This, of course, is key, and there is the critical success factor number one is communication, because all of us, we've seen these terminology rounds and terminology processes where then you need ages, to come to a conclusion, to really, have this approval, to have the commitment, the buy-in of the people who you think are responsible and should be involved, but they don't have time, they don't have the understanding, they don't have a clue, etc. So a lot of things, of course, here that do complicate the process, that's for sure. But in principle, this is a generic thing, and it's not that complex that it's not possible to integrate. That's a very, very, very important difference between implementation of terminology management. That's the first step. Is really, wow, I need all these people, I need this, this management of and communication of between people, to kind of push them to really follow the terminology process in due time, of course, and in a structured way. This is the one thing. And of course, it's the more languages we have, the more complex the process is going to be, for sure. But the real challenge is how to integrate this process. If it's a standalone, it's nice. But then, let me scroll back. Then we're kind of, again, we are here. It's too, it's too far away from where the real, concepts and terms and definitions and explanations are designed, are made. So that's the tricky thing, how to integrate these terminology processes into the existing business processes of an organization. Business meaning here from information quality processes, from communication processes, internal and external, from sales processes, marketing processes. If it's a charity, then your charity processes, your campaign processes. These are the business processes. So even a non-for-profit, non-governmental organization has business processes, and this is so important to understand what's the so-called process landscape of an organization, and how does my terminology process fit into that process landscape. And this is crucial. You can have great, wonderful implementation. You can be the terminology responsible. You have terminology rounds, you have your processes up and running. But if it's a standalone, if it's not integrated, you will never succeed in such a way that there are really, the full range of benefits, the full potential, of your terminology work, processes, and management. So this was number 2, what they did. What they also do, and this is amazing, they do assess translation quality. How? So this is what Volkswagen started many, many years ago, and Termnet, my organization, my group, had the pleasure to be the pioneer here. We helped Volkswagen to organize the quality assessment of the translated texts. Yes, they did, and we didn't had a lot of friends in the beginning when we when we implemented this methodology to assess the quality of translated text based on this wonderful industry standard. It's called the SAE, standing for Society of Automotive Engineers. That's the number of the standard. It's not an ISO. You see that it's a so-called industry standard. More about standards when you come to our international terminology summer school. You will learn a lot of about standards, and of course also a lot about these processes. This year we do not have Annette Weiland herself to explain us, but we have a colleague of her. She's wonderful, Beate Früh, who has a lot of experience in the real implementation and integration of terminology management in organizations, and she will talk about terminology processes at Terminology Summer School this year. So what did they do? How did Termnet help them to do that? We just, identified that Termnet did not identify. We had identified the human resources, the translators, and evaluators, and revisers. Trained them to apply this methodology. It's a very simple metrics, quality metrics, but it's tricky for translators because no style is important here. It's only about finding, identifying mistakes, errors, translation errors, then weighting it. Is it a serious error or a minor error, mistake? And this depends on the context. And then you are evaluating. Yeah, if you're interested, I have a lot of workshops and webinars about these quality metrics. So it's not important now how in detail it works. It does work wonderful. It's really is great. Plus, what it does, you have a sound analysis if the text is fine. If the translation is, you know. Um, good in terms of meeting your requirements. Yeah. Plus, it reveals the terminology issues. You will find all the inconsistencies, when translating things, when assessing the translation quality, you will find all the inconsistencies and all the issues, terminology issues, at the level of the source text, of course, as you know. The same, but in a different, from a different level, let's say, from a process level, it does Daimler when they actually do vendor audits. Yeah, so in this case also, you evaluate your translators, yeah, your translation agencies, but at the end of the day, it's still mostly human translators. Even when they added machine translation, it's the work of a human brain. Yeah, so you do vendor evaluations with this standard, and you do when the audits actually when you apply ISO 17100. If you do not know what ISO 17100 is, then quit. No, look it up. There are again a lot of our online workshops deal with this standard. This should be really your Bible, your Quran, whatever religion or non-religion you have. It's just what you need. Yeah, to know and to understand about translation processes. Yeah, that's a lot of communication also between the various partners in the translation processes. So please have a look at that, because when Daimler does these audits, and I had the pleasure to train their translators and project managers to apply this standard, then again, it reveals a lot of terminology issues, if there are issues. And believe me, there are always issues, So at both levels, at the product level, yeah, with this standard, and the process level, yeah, so how do they translate in terms of which translators, what are the competences, the skills of the translators, how is the process, what do they do, yeah, what is the whole project process when translation is done, yeah. Not to mention the 4 eyes principle with revision, etc., etc. This all reveals if there are terminology issues. So this is also the third good idea, the third right thing large car manufacturers do when it comes to terminology management. I promised you also to tackle the strategies, the policies, how to develop them, how to communicate them, how to make yourself understood. And this is really, we know that from experience and from the many feedback we get from our participants in online trainings, from our participants in terminology summer schools. They always say, yes, this is still a huge challenge to make ourselves understood. And actually, this is crazy. I think it took me several years, if not decades, to understand why this is the case. It's a paradox to my mind that language experts, are not that good in communicating. Yeah, maybe because it's too complex, because our brains are working in a too complex way for the ordinary non-linguistic people. I don't know. In any case, this is what works and what is understood even by stupid managers. And I can say that because I'm considering myself as a stupid manager myself, excellent entrepreneur, but to get things done, yeah, this is management, getting things done, yeah, you need to work with clear basic pictures. And this pain curve, I can really recommend to use it. Yeah, use the pain curve, yeah? Because people understand. Yeah, people understand that Okay, you can go away with not managing terminology for a while. Yeah, it's that red curve. But like with a bad tooth, pain will explode, over time. And on the other hand, if you're brave enough to start with terminology management, it will hurt in the beginning. And this is true. Please don't you ever underestimate that it's like when in a soup, when you have a pot of soup, yeah, the thick things, they're always on the ground. And when we then pour the soup, all of a sudden, all that in a lake it would be the mud. In the soup it's the this thick stuff in the soup. It will come to the surface, yeah, and that's you will there will be a lot of um, worries and concerns and fears, and a lot of buzz in the beginning, and people will see all the mistakes, all the inconsistencies, and wow, it's huge, it's frightening, and terminology is everywhere, etc., etc. So this is true. In the beginning, it will hurt, but the good news, here we go. Yeah, over time and very fast, actually, it's getting better and better and better. Here we go. This is the pain curve. Yeah? Make yourself understood with the pain curve. Most likely, and if your examples are very good, yeah, have a look at the feedback at the website of your organization. When you pick examples from the website, you will get a lot of positive feedback. Oh yes, that's so annoying. It's so inconsistent, etc. So this is what works. This is how to make yourself understood in front of top managers. Also, they are very busy, very important people, so they don't have a lot of time. Show them this pain curve. Practice a very clear explanation of the pain curve. You can communicate in 1 minute. I guarantee in 1 minute. If you practice that all over and over again, 1 minute, 2 or 3 very good, very painful examples from the organization, and then here we go. You show them the pain curve, and you make yourself understood. Full stop. Everything else you need to know about strategies, goals, terminology, policy, which you have to have. This is a must. And how to communicate, you will find in this wonderful guide. It's free of charge. It's our 5-step action plan, yeah? Terminology with ease. So step 1, and it's all described in that action plan. It's a free ebook. First step, assess the current state of the art. Very basic, of course, very important. But then the next step, already formal and agree on a visual terminology policy. Design and launch your terminology campaign, meaning communicate. Then develop and model the process, standardized terminology process, integrate it. Buff, full stop. Download your free copy here and right now. Go to termnet.eu/action plan. Action-plan. Go there. It's for free. It's wonderful. It's the essence of 30 years of very hands-on, practice-oriented in the field work in terminology. So please go there, and please go from 0 to hero. How can we do that? So, dear friends, if you really want to change your situation as a language professional or technical writer, if you're sick and tired of this lack of recognition, lack of time, also lack of understanding, lack of appreciation for your work. Yeah, if you really want to change your situation, if you really want to go from 0 to hero in terminology in your organization, then join us. Join us at the International Terminology Summer School in Vienna. Here comes the call for action. Yeah, summer is near. Isn't that wonderful? And this wonderful city is waiting for you. It's Vienna in Austria this year. We have that, but actually every year we have the summer schools in the second week of July. This is a very, 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 very long tradition, and it's wonderful. We have an amazing community of experts from all over the world, from all industries, from non-profit, profit making organizations. So it's the mix, it's the magic of diversity, and it's taking place this year in this lovely, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, in Vienna, Austria, from the 9th to the 13th July. So join us, learn how to be a hero in terminology. We do 4 days intense training, tackling everything. I will show you in a minute a little bit more about the program, about the distinguished trainers, etc. Join us. It's the largest, it's the ultimate terminology summer school all over the world. And I'm not bragging here, I'm just saying the truth, because we, as I said earlier, we do that since 30 years, 30 years. And it's amazing. We hundreds and thousands of people joined us over these years, and we are still in contact with all of them. And it's really a large family, and the diversity is so inspirational and so much motivating. We learn from each other. It is just great. So here, when you go to that website, you directly find the link where you can check out everything, the venue, the trainers, the program I'm going to explain a little bit in the next 2 minutes. But here is, and this is, by the way, this is the modern Vienna. Look at this. This is what you might know, St. Stephen's Cathedral and all these wonderful, mountains here, and the Vienna's woods surrounded, and Danube is not here, but should be here. But this is the modern skyline of Vienna. It's fantastic. You have a great view from this part to the city center, to that old part of Vienna. So it's really wonderful. Go there, check it out. www.termnet.eu. It directly leads to the Eventbrite links, where everything is described, where you can check out also the program, where you can register, etc. If you have any question, if you have, but before registering, I have this and this burning questions, go ahead, don't hesitate. It's events@termnet.org. Shoot us an email. My colleagues and myself, we will be glad to answer any question you might have. So don't hesitate, please. Yeah, this is the best way to go from zero to hero in terminology, to join forces with your colleagues. You are not alone. Please don't you ever forget that you're not alone. This is a huge community. You might be alone in your organization, and I know it's painful. It's painful when one person, one human being, is supposed to manage the terminology of a huge multinational, multi-million and billion-dollar or euro organization, with subsidiaries in many countries, and with thousands of employees, and you are sitting there. Of course, this is frightening, but be assured, we are many. The world is large. There are many organizations, and even if in even large organizations there are only one or two language and terminology experts, it sums up. So we are quite a crowd. We're quite a large community, if you look at that higher level and at that international global level. So come and join us. This is really magic at the Terminology Summer School in Vienna this year. www.termnet.eu. This is your website. What will you learn? What will you discuss with your peers? And actually, increasingly, the summer school, it's a very intense training. It's 4-day full training, and then a bonus day this year. Friday is a wonderful opportunity to mingle with the public sector information of European institutions. This will be great. Work terminology for Europe. I'll come to that in a minute. But during these 4 days, you will have an intense and quite, let's say, advanced. This magic acronym here, CTM ADV U1. This is the machine readable acronym for our advanced trainings, certification trainings, because since 8 years now, we launched that certification qualification at European level 8 years ago. In 2010, we had the first exams to qualify as an ECQA, Certified Terminology Manager. Yeah? STM, Certified Terminology Manager. ECQA stands for European Certification and Qualification Association. It's kind of this certificate for terminology managers and of course professionals. Yeah, don't get me wrong with that manager. I know that many of you are not the top managers, but the terminology professionals, which means that you do manage terminology. That's why we call it terminology manager. And the basic level, it's kind of it's a driving license. It's a driving license for language professionals dealing with terminology. And the basic level, it is pretty basic. Yeah. So usually we had a mix between basic and advanced in the past during the terminology summer school. This year it is slightly more advanced. Yeah. And Unit 1 is really about professional terminology management, what we need to know and to understand in theory and in practice, and you might know these names. They are some of not myself. I do the opening and the introduction. That's the best. I picked the best part of work, but then we jump into theory in a very condensed way, and then goes straight into the practice, how to structure terminology and how to define term-based structures. So really very hands-on, and this is one of the the most distinguished, most funny, I must say, guy, Klaus Dirk. Klaus Dirk is now he is even retired professor, but very active, of course, as all these retired people. They're more active than ever, from the not University of Applied Sciences, Cologne. And I don't know how he's doing that. He always gets the best marks. He has a weird sense of humor. Sometimes really it's so politically not correct that that it's breathtaking. But then when you see 35 different nations and people are just laughing and just enjoying this crazy professor and learning so much from him and with him, so this is really great fun. Same goes for Giorgetta Giordano. She is our distinguished professor from Timisoara, but from a polytechnical university. So practice and hands-on, real examples, real important stuff from these technical backgrounds. So this is what she is teaching at TSS this year. So this is the real program. It's pretty much finalized. Of course, there can always subject to change. We always have on Monday, we have this nice social event right after the first day of the summer school. So you're cordially invited here to join us, and there is some nice food and great fun and great discussions. Day 2, we will talk about strategies, and here I have the pleasure to go more into details about what I've just tackled a little bit, how to present the business case for terminology, how to sell terminology, if you wish, how to do this important stuff to, convince managers, bosses, decision makers who usually have no idea about the value of terminology. So how can we calculate, argue that, return on investments, etc. So we'll just equip you with a lot of tools and arguments and strategies that usually work quite nicely. Yeah. Then Klaus Dirk, again, he's very much here into tools. Yeah. This is, again, it's a little bit more advanced. We will discuss the various terminology management systems with him, and this is of course very, very helpful and useful for you. Many of you struggle with the tools, of course, and this is natural because my motto is always, please, first the people, then the processes, then the tools. But in reality, it's exactly the other way around. We're struggling with tools, and then we squeeze in the processes, and then we try to convince people, yeah, to follow these strict and restricted processes and tools. So, and again, here actually, I'm going to on day 2, I'm going to show you a lot of things, discuss with you a lot of things, which is described in the free 5-step action plan. So here we go. Third day. Again, what works, how to manage terminal project. That's Beate Frösch. She's wonderful, and she's going to talk a lot more about what works with terminology processes and workflows in reality, in large organizations, yeah, and increasingly in smaller, yeah, small and medium-sized organization. Yeah. Then these two colleagues, this distinguished president of Termnet, Frieda Stoes from the Catholic University of Leuven in Belgium. There we have the case study afternoon. It's wonderful. Hendrik Kokart is full professor also in Antwerp, and the two of them, they will really present highly interesting case studies, technical documentation, control language, so state of the art, new things, as you see from, and also very important, is to understand what are the standards, what is the quality requirement, what do I need to know, and how can I benefit from ISO standards, from international standards organizations documents, helping me with terminology. Yeah. So what is great here, you see at 9, we actually start with so-called terminology breakfast. It's food for thoughts only, unfortunately, no food served, but you can bring your your breakfast if you like, and we will choose, actually, the participants, you will choose which topics do you want to discuss during the week with the experts. So there will be kind of a marketplace for the topics for the terminology breakfast, and the same goes for the happy hour, and this is just magic. It's of course it's just it's not mandatory. You can, if you, this is an additional offer we do, and it's so nice. You can just join us. Yeah, some of the trainers, they will just go to some restaurants or in a nice beer garden, and there you will have the opportunity to meet them, to contact them with your specific questions, to talk about burning issues with your peers and the trainers. So this is really always a magic. That's why, and happy. We are happy with the happy hour. Last day, no, I missed this one. Yes, this is actually the best one. This is about your experience, your projects, because we have this certification and qualification. This is actually the oral part, the oral exam, if you wish, if you want to go for that certificate, and we will explain everything about the certificate, and you will find on the websites everything about that certificate if you're interested. But this is the day when all your peers, this wonderful group from all over the world, will present their terminology projects, with all those challenges, with all the smart solutions, with all the what works, what doesn't work so well, etc., etc. So this is really magic here, and the trainers, will provide feedback, will ask questions, and this is really magical. And we will start that great day with a very hot topic about ontologies and artificial intelligence. Yeah, terminology for machine translation. Hot topic. Looking very much forward. Michael is a great speaker and has a great company also. And last but not least, this is your bonus day, Friday the 13th. In some cultures, this is it's a lucky day, and some it's not so lucky. For me, it's the most luckiest day, and we will have this great opportunity, this terminology for Europe workshop. It's also within an EU funded project where we will present national terminology use cases. So what the public sector information organizations are doing, to provide us all with their terminologies. And this is really a highly interesting. We have partners from the Baltic countries, from the Scandinavian countries, but also from more or less all the regions are covered, and this will be great fun. And also how to participate, because these resources, the terminological resources, they are there. They are, so important, and so how to put it, it's like gold. Their value, it's so valuable, and sometimes we just don't know where to search, how to use them, etc. So this is the program, and this is my last question for you. What are you waiting for? Please register. Yeah, seats are limited, and usually this is here the moment where in these workshops and webinars, people start to tell you, but this when you register today or tomorrow by 11 p.m., then we give you a discount. It's a unique opportunity. Sorry, guys, I will not give you a discount. Yeah, it is the regular fee, because it's a very, very valuable week. You will take your terminology management to the next level. You will be one of 30 or 40 highly motivated terminology experts. You will learn a lot from them and from the most distinguished, best trainers we have in terminology. I cannot give you a discount. We had super early bird in December. We had early bird in February. We had Easter discount. Now it's finished with the discount. The only discount I can give you, because I can always give it, is a 20% discount. A lot of money when your organization is a Termnet member, or a member of AIDA, or a member of EIFT, the European Terminology Association. So check that out at our website. But if you are an individual, in terms of self-employed or university staff member or employee of a large organization, you will find everything here, all the fees. I will not give you a discount, but I can recommend you to be quite fast. Seats are selling fast. We do not have 100 or 120. See, this is then not a summer school any longer. We really want to have you there with your own projects, with your own problems. Also, there's a lot of interactive design of the summer school. So it's really for professionals who want to discuss, who want to learn, but also really raise issues and present their own projects. So this is me. Thank you very much. Here you have all my coordinates. That's even my personal email address. If you have questions about the program or summer school or whatever, or online training courses, it's the events at termnet.org. I will go back to that. Yeah. Here we go. This is what you need right now. You need the summer school links. This website brings you to to the links, the Eventbrite and all the blah blah blah, who is a trainer and blah, blah, blah. And then for every question about the training, summer school or online trainings, please shoot us an email at events@termnet.org. Here we go. Here we go. And please remember, please always remember, you are not alone, not at all. That's why in the beginning I said there is a reason why we picked this lack of recognition and inefficient terminology management, etc. Because in a recent survey Termnet was conducting, these are the results. 90% of your peers, of our colleagues, are struggling, more or less with that. At personal level, of course, they are struggling with inefficient or non-existing terminology management in the organization, at organizational level. But this is at personal level, almost 40%. My weak position in the organization, lack of recognition as terminology professional, lack of appreciation. So it sums up to 90%. And of course, this is also, it's worth another online workshop, and we do that. One of our next online workshops will be about how to strengthen your position as a language professional. So it will be about strength. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, for having joined us today. Please check out our terminology summer school. Please be fast. There are limited seats, and we would be most happy to welcome you. Vienna is a lovely city. It's amazing in July. It's great. You can combine learning and working and fun and sightseeing, etc. So please be there. We look very much forward to welcoming you in Vienna. All the very best. See you at one of our next online workshops. Thank you very much. Have a great week. Bye. See you.